Alright, so I'm going to do something, well, a little different with this one, but I did want to show it off still. I have a big problem. I can't actually run this guy in my basement. This amp pulls a lot of power. Whenever I key it down, the voltage, if I hook a meter up to one of the outlets that I have here on my bench and key this amp up at the same time, the power just nosedives. It's up around 121, 122 volts on my meter, and I mean it just goes down to 115, 114. Now at the same time, I don't have a good power connection in this bench. It's really just enough to power small things, and I'm actually running off of a tap from an incandescent light hanging from the ceiling. Best way I can do it. Everything else works fine. It's only these bigger guys that really kill the power down here. I have a Palomar Skipper 300. I'm not going to do a video on that, but it does exactly the same thing. I think at most I could get this guy up to close to 400 watts, maybe 350. Palomar would maybe, get out of second gear and get up to about 150, and I know it can do a lot more than that because I've seen it do a lot more than that. I've also seen this one do a lot more than that. If I remember correctly, I think I was told this guy will get up to around 400-500, maybe 500-600 watts. And it is a monster. Let's turn it on. And I mean that physically. It weighs a ton. I'll take the cover off in a second, but back here is just nothing but transformer. And then on top of that, you've got 8 tubes total, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Heavy metal case, so on and so forth. Oh, I guess I should tell you the name of it. This is the HEC B500E, made by Holden Electronics Corp out of Houston, Texas. I don't know if you can see that here, but there was a sticker at one point that I think I wrote this down somewhere. It tells you what the company is, where I guess whoever bought this thing, bought it from. I think they were out of Pennsylvania, if I remember correctly. But haven't seen a lot of Holden amps out there. I imagine they were more common at one point, or people are selling them in places that I can't find them. I got this one on eBay. And I'd never seen one before, and the price was right, so I figured, what the hell, I'll grab it. Runs 2 driving 8, 6 LR6 tubes, which I think are probably getting to be, at least in my experience, which, take that as you will, 6 LR6s seem to be getting hard to find, like 8950s. I have a Siltronics 1011D. I'm lucky enough to have from a scrapped PAL amp, mobile amp that I got, that had a 12 JB6 and 2 8950 tubes in it. And the 8950s were good, and the 12 JB6 was bad, and the amp was junk anyway, so I just took the tubes and kept them. But I think I see more 8950s on eBay than I do 6 LR6s. So, take that as you, however you want. If you've come across one of these and you really want it, bear that in mind. If one of the tubes is bad, you might have a problem replacing it. I would probably never retube this thing if any of the tubes popped. And from what I can tell, though, they're all in pretty good shape. One of the things I like about this is your AM SSB delay. When I first got this amp, someone had actually shorted this across. And because of that, it wouldn't bypass, which was really annoying. It's got a drive knob, which works pretty well when I can, get it up to full power. Tune and load over here, standby operate, high-low power switch, preamp on off. Actually, I don't think the preamp works. This is a brand new meter, from what I understand. At least the person that sold it to me, that's what they said. This meter was replaced. The only thing is that the 1N34A or whatever diode on the board in the back is bad. I don't have any. They're long gone from my parts box, and I just haven't bothered to pick up any more yet. It's germanium diode, so I like to tend to try to keep things as close to original as possible. So, I'd rather replace what was in there with what, something that's supposed to be in there and go some other route. I'm not sure if anybody knows, that'd be great. If the high-low switch is like some other larger amps, like the Palomar, I think the 300A and the 350Z, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong again, you can run those on high or run those on low, and they'll disengage the driver stage, and you can use them. You can actually drive these with a higher wattage radio. I'm not 100% sure if that's the case with this, so when I do test it, it's driven with a regular, 4-watt radio, running not at 4 watts, usually at like 2. Take the cover off. Cover's in okay shape. It's got a dent on one side, but inside looks good. Let me show you the inside of it. So here's your tubes. You can see there's 6 of them. Whoops. Oh well. And there's your fan. And there's the other 2 driver tubes. Down here at the bottom, here's my little stick. There's your keying. This actually turns the plate voltage on. And it only turns on when you key. Let's see, what's next? Oh, the transformer. This thing is massive and it weighs a ton. And I never really understood why they decided to put it on this side. I imagine maybe they could have kind of oriented things a little bit differently and maybe put it in the center or even towards the back and back center, something like that. But then again, a lot of amps don't really, I guess, take that stuff into consideration, or when they're built, the folks building them. It makes the weight on it off center. So you pick it up on one side and it's really heavy, and then the other side is really light, where the tubes are. Not a big deal, but I just always thought that was strange. You can't see the caps, but they are under here. Apparently those were replaced before I got the amp, and then you've got a basic little bridge rectifier. Now this has had the golden screwdriver touch done to it just a bit. I guess whoever had this amp before me didn't really want to mess with this board too much and try and take it all the way out, although they did leave me missing some screws. Thankfully I didn't pay that much for this amp, so I'm not that worried about it. One of the transistors must have gone bad, and it looks like all they did was clip the old one out and solder it back on there. Not a big deal. They did that in a couple other spots too on this board. But personally, if I'm going to repair something, I'm going to repair it right, make it look good, so on and so forth. So that to me is unacceptable. At some point I'll get around and changing it, but I don't really feel like it now. Fan runs a little loud, but I think most of these fans run loud. Yeah, this guy is just a monster. It's not the cleanest thing on the inside. I even think there's been a little arcing in it. So, it is what it is. But for just a monster of an amp, it's a really, really neat little specimen here. That's really about it. I don't have a whole lot more to say about it. Wish I could, show you what it's doing power-wise, but like I said, I don't have the right AC voltage circuits running down here in this little work area I've got. So, if you have any information on these amps, or need me to check anything out in this one to let you know about something, if you've got one that's going wrong, or not working, whatever, let me know and I'll see what I can do for you. If anybody has a good schematic or a good user's manual or anything like that for this guy, I'd appreciate it if you could pass it along. I can send you postage or something like that, and if you want to send me a hard copy, I prefer an electronic, but beggars can't be choosers, so that's the case. And yeah, that's it. Holden B500E, or HEC B500E, whichever one you want to call it. Thanks for watching.